Hey, this is Hans from Request for Music. A couple of days ago, a new module has been added to FSyn, to the bundle, and that's the one that's here on the left, the K-oscillator, Kiosk. And it's a module that indeed is a chaotic oscillator. It's built on the principle of a Lorentz oscillator, which means that it has a sigma, rho, and beta um, part, or so to speak. I don't know exactly how to call that, but it's sorry, it's created of different parts, and so you have a rate to work with. You have a morph amount, which works with all these values. It has this sigma amount, the rho amount, beta, and an x scale to scale the proportion of the x variant in there, and that actually sort of amplifies the signal. The rate decides how high the frequency is, so that means you can use it to modulate stuff or to use it as audio signal. So if I, for instance, have it connected to my delay and to my reverb output, I can turn this up, and you can hear that at the moment it's giving me a sort of a low rumble kind of sound. And as soon as I dial up the rate, it's a whole lot of noise coming up. It's chaotic, as said, and each of those each of those knobs, like the rate or the morph amount or sigma, rho, beta, or x scale, they all have their own inputs, so you can actually do more stuff with it. And the select actually selects which of the audio signals, which of the signals is output. So that's why you heard some sound differences in there. Everything is going to the out, and there is a reset if for any reason the chaos might be that high that there isn't signal anymore. Then you can just reset the signal. To show it a bit what it has, I have this module which I will create a separate video for later on, which is a scope that I've been building over the last couple of days. So if I include that, and I'll put my which is actually a 6 channel scope, and you can change the gain for the signal, as you can tell, and you can change the offset, so you can dial it lower or higher on compared to the zero signal. And it has a time base that you can set, so you can look at the signal in different ways. And it has a freeze knob if you want to have a freeze of the signal to have it look up a little bit better. As soon as you connect the second signal to it, it will change to a second, third. Every channel has its own color, so you can have up to 6 signals. And on the top you can also change if you want it to behave sort of like an old kind of oscilloscope, where you have sort of trails following the original. So you can have that on a very slow setting, or you can have that more intense, so that especially when a signal is as noisy as it is now, you'll get maybe a strange signal, but it might be useful. You have the option to have overlays. So if I would have a next, let's see if I can put a normal oscillator in there. Oops, that's not oscillator, it's VCO, right? So if I put my VCO in here and switch off the library so you can see it, and I put this in, then obviously you have a second oscillator that you can set the time base for, you can set the gain for, and you can set the offset for that signal. And on top here you have the option to switch it to overlay, so you have both signals at the same time. And you can also use signal 1 and 2 to make a sort of Lissajous signal that you can look at and to check for phase signals, etc. And if that's not enough, there's an option to use audio signals. So it has a couple of functions that you can use. Like for instance, here is a sum function, but you can have all kinds of different functions in there. I think there's about 20 functions in there that does stuff with the audio signal, and you can decide how to put that audio out. So if you take any signal out here, so if I, for instance, do not take the output of that in here, but I take the output of the scoped signal, I can take my function and first of all I can have a look at what the original signal then looks like, and I can also freeze that to have a look at what the signal is, and dial that audio signal up. So now I have a combination of that original sine wave, including that K oscillator signal, and it also has a way of looking at this. And yeah, because it's a very chaotic signal, is very hard to trigger, so that's why it's using this all the time. Let's put the trail off so you see only the signal. But anyway, that's the scope. I will do a separate video on that, but the video at least, or the signal at least, shows you that the K oscillator itself is, and let's take this audio signal out and put the original signal into the delay. So I've got this, and as said, the rate changes. Let's switch this off so I can see the original signal and only take that original signal in here. The original signal is moving a lot, of course, and I can change the time base. This is very slow signal, and you can see it's jumping all over the place. If I turn that rate up, I can turn the gain down here, and it's messing up everything. But since I can also modulate that, I could, for instance, take an LFO out here. So let's go to my library, take an LFO, switch that off, and oops, that wasn't intentional, and use my LFO signal, for instance, to change the rate. So you can indeed use this to create very, very chaotic signals. It's not noise, it's not normal noise. It is created, it is calculated. And I could still use it, for instance, to, instead of going straight into this, use this as a way to drive other signals. So if I take this out of here and put it into my frequency modulation, and let's put that into my delay. So to have just my VCO signal, which will now be frequency modulated by this other signal, I have more control over it then, of course, by working with that. So if I connect this to the pitch output, I could do stuff like that, and and now I'm actually modulating this chaos at the same time. So let's take that out. So this is what happens at lower frequencies with this lower rate. Let's use the audio signal instead. Let's freeze it to see what happens. You see that it's changing sort of the wave, and that's what you hear, of course. And the modulation is messing stuff up even more than it should normally. So. But obviously that means that you can also use this to, for instance, modulate filters or stuff like that. So let's take a filter in there. Switching off the sound for a while. Let's go to library, take my VCF. So what am I doing? Okay, so I've got a VCF in there. So let's take the signal of the VCO into the input of my VCF and then take my output of that into the delay. So I've got something like that, and I'm going to take my sawtooth out of my VCO, so you see that connected. By the way, the scope also gives you a frequency that it tries to calculate from the wave. So you see that it's now giving a normal sawtooth. So let's instead use this out of the filter, so I can see that, and maybe I should hear this as well. Why don't I? So now it's still frequency modulating, but taking this out and putting this into timbre modulation for the filter instead. So the chaotic character of this oscillator can be used as an audio oscillator or as a modulating oscillator to do stuff like this, as you can tell. So yeah, it's added to the FSyn bundle, so take a look at it when you have the possibility, and I'll be back with you in a new video. See you later. Cheers.